Okay, we will go ahead and get started here so we can be respectful of everybody's time. My name is Jamie Staten, and I'm the Family Engagement Specialist here at Trecca. Couple of quick things before we get started. We are recording this session for those people that are unable to attend, or if there's anything that you want to refer back to, we will have this recorded and send this out to everyone. You will want to keep your microphone muted if you're not speaking so we don't get a bunch of feedback with everyone. But you are more than welcome to ask questions. We will have time for questions throughout the session. And at that time, you can unmute yourself or you can ask your question in the chat box, whatever you're comfortable with. So the topics for today, we're going to be talking about the One Plan. What is it? What is social emotional learning? We've been hearing a lot about that this school year. We're going to talk about student surveys and instruction, how to support social emotional learning at home, and social emotional resources for families. And I have a couple people that are going to be helping me out with these topics today. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the session over to them at this time.
All right, thank you. And thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Stephanie Westendorf. I'm the School Improvement Coordinator at Trecca. And I'm going to introduce the One Plan to you today. And then we'll also talk more in depth about social emotional learning and how it's integrated into our plan. In the simplest terms, One Plan is a school improvement plan. So in previous years, the district had a variety of plans, and One Plan simply puts it all together for us in one plan. So it's a school-wide planning tool, and it strategically aligns funding and resources to improve the outcomes for all students. So as a district, when we're putting together One Plan, we look at all of the district data, and from there, we analyze the data and determine what are the root causes for the issues that we see. So we try to break it down and funnel back as far as possible so that we can see the root causes for any issues that we're seeing that we would like to improve for our students. From there, we identify which of those needs are priority needs at this time, and then we create goals and we research evidence-based strategies to meet the goals. And from that process, it's a long process, but it gets us to a very solid, comprehensive plan. So on the screen now, you'll see a visual of our One Plan, and this is a 3-year plan. So right now we're in year 1 of the plan, and we'll continue to work on it in years 2 and 3. But we have 3 goals in the plan. We have curriculum, graduation, and the safe and healthy school goal. So those are our goals there on the left-hand side. And then on the right side, all those letters stand for the strategies that we're using to meet those goals. So for curriculum, UBD stands for backwards design, and that just means we're deciding what and when to teach, and then designing our curriculum to meet those goals. Next, we have the graduation goal, and EWS stands for Early Warning System. So we're looking at risk students and intervening early, before they get to that point where they're at risk for not graduating high school. And then lastly, we have the Safe and Healthy Schools goal, and SEL, that's social emotional learning. So that's what we're going to focus on in depth today. And then PBIS stands for Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, which is another strategy that we're using for safe and healthy schools. So the 3 goals are a very comprehensive approach to education. So we're trying to meet the needs of the whole child by this plan. And now we're going to dive a little more in depth into that one particular strategy, SEL. So what is social emotional learning? You might have heard of it. It's a buzzword right now, and a lot of schools are talking about it. The basis of SEL is that it's internal skills. So these are skills that students need to be successful at school, at home, and even later at work when they reach adulthood. And they don't come naturally. These require a lot of intentional work and practice to develop these skills. And they include broadly things like self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship building, and decision making. And these skills are really like the internal fundamental building blocks that students need to later display outward positive behaviors. So it all comes together and connects so that they can have these healthy skills that will enable them to be successful in school and beyond. You can go to the next slide, please. Ohio has mapped out SEL standards. So these are a variety of standards that we use to understand what SEL is and how to teach it to students. And the great thing about SEL is that it doesn't need to be a separate course or additional work for students or anything like that. It's just something that we can integrate into our current lessons in our current classrooms to help students be more successful learners. And there's a great quote here. This is from our former state superintendent, Superintendent DeMaria. He said, "A child's social emotional learning is an important enabler to student success during a child's formative years while they are in school and beyond. Students with social emotional learning skills benefit from increased attention, learning memory, and academic success that will put them on the road to a bright future." Next slide, please. For the standards, these standards are available publicly if you go to the Ohio Department of Education's website, but just to give you sort of like a broad overview of what's included, they're based on these 5 competencies. So we have self-awareness, which is the ability to assess your own strengths and limitations, but with a sense of confidence and optimism. Next, we have self-management, which is the ability to recognize and navigate your own emotions and behaviors across different situations and your ability to manage stress. Then we have social awareness, which is the ability to consider diverse perspectives and to empathize with others. Relationship skills, which is the ability to both establish relationships with different individuals and groups, and also the ability to communicate well. So speaking and listening, seeking or offering help. And then lastly, responsible decision making, which is making constructive choices and understanding the consequences of actions. So these are all very internalized processes, but you can see how they would later influence outward behaviors, which is key to the SEL framework and our efforts to help the whole child be successful in school. So as part of One Plan, the district identified this as a need for our district, and we created our Safe and Healthy Schools goal, which has those 2 strategies, SEL and PBIS. But for SEL, our goal for this school year for 22-23 was to have students take an SEL survey twice per year. So these are screener surveys that students will complete that will let us know what are their needs for SEL, like what social emotional skills do they need to personally develop. And these are short questionnaires that students and families can work on together. And it just gives us feedback about how they're feeling about school, how they're feeling about themselves and their community. And this survey is optional, so students can opt in or opt out, but we do encourage students and families to participate because we believe that these are very important skills that will translate to academic success. Next, I wanted to share our criteria for choosing these screeners. So before we picked a screener, we decided that these were going to be the criteria and the important things that we needed to see from these screeners in order to offer them to our students. So the first is that we wanted a screener that was aligned to the CASEL framework. So CASEL is a leading SEL organization, and a CASEL, it's sort of like a mark of approval that we know it's a quality SEL framework. So we wanted it to align to CASEL. And we also wanted it to connect to Ohio's SEL standards. So that was the first piece of criteria that we're looking for in a screener. Next, we wanted a screener that could be administered online. and that could connect with our systems and report data back to us easily. With us being an online school district, we needed a screener that could be administered online. And lastly, an important piece to this, we were looking for a program that had lessons attached to the screener that we could then offer to our students to address their personal areas of need. So a key part of this process is not only screening and seeing what types of SEL skills students might need more assistance with, but it's also later instructing and meeting those needs so that we can fill those gaps for them. All right, and then from those criteria, we were able to select a screener, and we evaluated many different screeners and programs. And what we found quickly was that it was hard to pick just one that could meet the needs of both our elementary and our middle school and high school students. So we ended up opting for 2 separate surveys that are based on 2 grade bands. So for grades K through 5, we have a TRECA created SEL screener that's based on the SEL standards. And then for grades 6 through 12, we went with the program Base Education, and they have a screener called Baseline. And Mr. Daly is now going to walk you through both of those screeners more in depth.
Hey, I'm Daniel Daly. I'm a social studies teacher at the high school here at TRECA. Thanks again, guys, for attending and learning about our SEL efforts this year. So for grades 6 through 12, those students we have taking the Baseline survey. Baseline is actually part of a broader program for SEL called BASE. And BASE is actually the only fully online platform that is recommended by CASEL. CASEL, that acronym that Ms. Westerndorf shared, actually stands for Collaborative for Academics, Social and Emotional Learning. I always forget what it stands for, but there it is. So students log into BASE, and from there, they take the Baseline survey. There's about 41 question surveys that students can take asynchronously, meaning on their own at their computer. And the really cool thing about Baseline is after they complete it, it gives them a list of modules that are designed specifically for improving their areas of need or things that they could use additional support or learn more about in. So some examples of the modules that it might give to a student to learn more about could be about anger management, about coping strategies, digital safety, empathy, growth mindset. There's a lot of cool modules that it could recommend for students. The modules can also be pulled independently into a classroom or into, or just selected by a student to check out if there is an area they want to learn more about. And they're really nice. They're really fluid looking. They're kind of set up like a little interactive module students can click through and watch a short video and read some examples about each topic. So it's a really cool and interactive platform. For our K through 5 students, Baseline was not actually available for K through 5. Along with this, we really wanted to ensure that our youngest students were able to get help from their learning partners to complete the screener. This is kindergarten through 5th grade. So you're going to have students at that grade level who have a very varied understanding of emotions or even navigating a screener technically. So what we went about doing is we based questions off of other SEL screeners and connected them to our Ohio SEL standards and our new PBIS initiative, the Gator Way. So you might have heard your students or seen information from TRECA about the Gator Way, about how we want our students to be reaching out. We want them to be attending actively and how they can earn that Gator Gold. We wanted to connect our SEL efforts to that effort. So on the right there, there's some of the work we did to draw up these questions and make sure that they were connected to Ohio's SEL standards and our own TRECA kind of language of the Gator Way. So the survey that students take is actually on a Google form, and we ask learning partners at the K through 5 level to assist students in completing the survey. This helps us review broad trends of what areas of need there are and work to provide instruction or modify our programs for those students. A quick example of something we're looking at is as we've seen students at the K through 5 level respond to that survey, we've seen some students or a trend in students saying that they would like more social interaction, they would like more opportunities to connect with others. So one of our first instructional sessions we might look at providing to those students would be about how to make those connections here through things that TRECA already offers, or maybe even things outside of TRECA in their community. So those broad trends are things we're excited to see come in at the K through 5 and 6 through 12 level. And we really encourage parents, learning partners to participate in those surveys, have those conversations with students as they kind of explore those SEL topics and get feedback from the programs we have. To find your survey, currently most teachers should have a news post in their courses where it will direct you on how to log into the survey. For K through 5, it's just going, that news post is just going to have a direct link to the Google form you can click on, takes you over to the Google form, you can complete it. For grades 6 through 12, the process has students log into Clever. Clever is a program that our students use for a number of different educational apps, but it allows them to access the baseline survey through the Clever system. Back in December, we also sent out an email. It may have come from your student's school counselor or from our kind of SEL group here at TRECA, which is selw@treca.org. So if you're having trouble finding the survey, accessing it, or even have questions as your student takes it, definitely do reach out to us at selw@treca.org. We've received in the past week some really fantastic questions from parents asking about the setup of the survey, the purpose of the survey, or just questions they had about the programs that we're using. So we always value that feedback so much and encourage you to talk with your student about how they're experiencing those SEL initiatives we have. Some other ways that we can support SEL at home. These are things that you likely already take care of, already do. Some of these, if you're a newer family to TRECA, I think they're really important to reflect on how we can make these consistent things to do. I think as you build routines here at TRECA and get used to our courses and our community, there are things that you start trying naturally to do. But I think they're really important to reflect on how we're doing, and even for our teachers, even for staff, these are all things that we want to make sure we're doing as well to support our families. So first one would be self-care. Encouraging your students to take steps to take care of themselves, implementing a wellness practice that works for them, going for a walk, exercising, drawing, whatever helps them to get into a clear mindset. Really encourage them to have time set aside each and every day for that. A lot of times our students do need time to reset from stressors they have going on in their lives, coursework. A lot of our students at the high school level may work a job and then also work on their schoolwork at TRECA and have family obligations. So they have a lot going on. We need to make sure that they are purposely setting aside time for that self-care. Routines, like I said, these are things that as you spend more time as a student and family here at TRECA, really honing your daily routine for your student is so important. That gives them that sense of safety and security. That could be a physical place where they do their work. That could be a certain schedule where they do their work. If you need help with that, your student's teacher, advisor, counselor, anyone would love to help them talk through that with you if you need help with setting that up. Our final one on this slide would be practice active listening. So as a parent, I have a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. I can't always assume what my kids are feeling or what they're experiencing. So I really have to listen closely to find out what went on at school or went on with their friends and acknowledge their feelings, fears, and concerns. Our students especially, they have a unique schooling experience that is probably different than what most of us experienced when we were in K through 12 going to an online school. So kind of really drilling down into what they're experiencing, what they're feeling about their schoolwork and about their relationships with others. Some other ones we can look at would be helping name emotions. This might be for younger students. I know my 4-year-old really struggles with this. We're continuing to work with her on it. But even at the older level, these are good things to think about and review because children often struggle to identify their feelings. At the younger levels, they might want to express it with a drawing, a facial expression, or a movement to kind of tell you or show you how they're feeling. You can engage in creativity together. Being creative is an inherently pretty vulnerable process, especially for our older students. We love to see that come out in their coursework and want to make sure that we as teachers are giving them the opportunity to flex their creative muscles. But at home, you can definitely also encourage them to try new things, stuff that's available through community centers, rec centers, libraries, or even just checking out stuff on your own, like a new recipe, art project, or exercise. And finally, this one is really important, what we always encourage all of our students to do, and families all together. Research shows that when we stop to recognize good things in life, no matter how tiny it is, you finished a block, you finished, a lesson, you finished a class. Those are all really important steps towards our ultimate goal of graduation. So we can definitely see that students can develop more resilience to negative events if they recognize that how many positive things and celebrate how many positive things they've accomplished through the school year. So make sure to always set aside time for that. And our teachers and staff here at Trecca want to make sure we're doing that as well for your student. Some additional resources that Trecca provides, not just for our students, but for our whole families, are what we're going to talk about to wrap up here. Our first one is a new one this year, and one that is available not just to students, but also to Trecca staff and also our families. It's called Care Solace. Care Solace is a mental health coordination program that we've partnered with this program called Care Solace for. If you hop over to the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit more about it, but just navigating the process for getting mental health is really mental health support is very complicated. Insurance providers often don't always provide the easiest path to identifying a covered provider for mental health, or they kind of have websites that are hard to navigate. The whole idea behind Care Solace is that it can help you have someone take care of that for you. So if you identify that your student or someone in your family do need additional support from maybe a mental health expert, you can connect with Care Solace, and on the right-hand side there shows you how to access this program. All students this year have this new really cool, when they go to their course dropdown, this new really cool course shell called Main Office. And Main Office puts together kind of all the stuff that you typically think of seeing when you walked into a brick and mortar elementary school or middle school or high school. All this stuff is kind of there in this one place, where in years past we kind of had to spread out in different parts of our website or different parts of Brightspace, our learning management system. So go into that Main Office, you'll see the information for Care Solace and how to access it. But the process for this is, if you connect with Care Solace, it gives you a brief screening about what services you're looking for your student. It helps you get matched with a mental health care provider. They kind of take care of figuring out, if it matches up with your insurance and is covered, or if you participate in Medicaid or Medicare, how it connects with those programs, or even if you're without insurance, it has some options for that. All this is completely confidential, anonymous. If I use this service for one of my children or myself, like Trecca would not be notified. If you use this for your family, Trecca is not notified. It's just between you and Care Solace and the provider they help you connect with. They book your appointment and then help you get checked into your appointment with them, as well as follow up and make sure it's a good match. Mental health services are very personal, and you want to make sure that you or your student is connected with someone who they are comfortable with and is going to be able to support them. So really cool program. If you have more questions, do please check out that Main Office, and there's more information about how you can utilize this resource, or check out the website. One final thing that we have on our page is that Care Solace is not a mental health service provider. They're connecting you with mental health service providers, and if there's emergency, we'd want to connect directly to 911, or for suicide concerns, we'd connect to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988. Hop over to the next slide. Something else that's really cool for general mental health or support of families, of students, is organized by the Ohio State University. They have this really cool website. I have the link down there. But if you search Ohio Mental Health Resource Guide, Ohio State University, it'll connect you to it online. And it's organized by county, every county in Ohio, tons of different places, people, areas that you can connect with to get support for your students. So I looked through a couple of different counties. I was really impressed with all the different offerings they had. So this could be everything from students who might struggle with mental health concerns, depression, family issues, Again, these are all different places that we could turn to for additional support in your communities. And then finally, or next to last, we have our Brightspace mental health and wellness resources. This is another course that students will see from their dropdown in Brightspace. When I say course, it is not a class that students have to complete anything in or can earn credit in. It's just a collection of resources that we've assembled over the year to help students kind of connect with issues about anger management, anxiety, depression, or setting goals for the future. So that page is pretty consistently updated with new things, and students might see news posts from there or reminders when there's new material available for them. Just kind of something for students to go into or families to go into and explore together to learn more about how to support their mental health and their wellness. And then our final one here is one that is available for all students at TRECA, is SAFE, our student assistance and family engagement team. Our SAFE team provides assistance to TRECA students that are experiencing social, emotional, or family issues that might be serving as barriers to learning. If you're in need of assistance or anyone just to talk to, please reach out. Most of our SAFE workers have a background in social work or come from that line of field. And they're really spectacular to talk to. And if you have a student who just really is feeling just so overwhelmed, or just kind of starts feeling depressed, or just really is having a hard time getting into their work, and that's kind of a new development for them or atypical for them, SAFE is always a great place to reach out to, just to connect with, just to talk to, and they're going to be able to either refer you directly to resources in your community, possibly make a home visit if needed, or provide other supports as necessary to your student. So our SAFE team has been around for a very long time, and they do a lot of great work with many different students. If you have a concern with one of your with your student or one of your students, never hesitate to reach out for them, because I'll just tell you from experience and from being here, they work with lots and lots of families through the year for lots of different issues. So their email is safe@treca.org. Or if you need help getting in contact with a SAFE team member, you can reach out to your advisor or teacher. We can help you get connected to them. But yeah, those are just some more ways that we can connect with our SEL and our mental health support for our students. And I'll turn it back over to Jamie.
Okay, thank you. We threw a lot of different information at everyone today. We have a pretty good group. We did want to open this up if you have any questions about what we talked about today so far. We want to give you an opportunity to ask any questions right now that you may have. And you can use the chat box or you can use your microphone, whichever you prefer. While you're thinking about that, we do have a survey that we would like you to complete. After the session, we will be emailing that to everyone if you can complete the survey about what we discussed. Does anyone have any questions at this time?
Yeah, I went to a social worker and I had a lunch group and watched a TV about socializing when I was learning in an out-of-state public school. I went to a social worker.
You want to be a social worker at an out-of-state school?
No, I don't mean I want to. I mean I went to an out-of-state school and I had to go to a social worker to learn about social learning.
Okay.
Yeah, and I kind of have speech problems. I went to a speech therapist in our state. Yeah, this topic is kind of interesting to learn about.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Well, we will go ahead and wrap up this session. If you think of any questions that you want to ask after this, feel free to reach out to me or anyone really, and we will get you the answers that you need. So we will go ahead and end it for today. Thank you for joining us. I will be sending out the recording and the survey after this is complete. And you guys have a great day today.
You too. Bye.
Thank you.